Duxbury Library's Salon Series presented a program called Science at Sea. It featured a presentation from a scientist and Duxbury native who participated in an international research expedition in the Arctic Ocean. PACTV Community News caught up with this Duxbury High School grad to hear more about her experiences.
So I was involved in an expedition to the Russian side of the Arctic called NABOS. NABOS stands for the Nansen and Amundsen Basin Observation System, and it's part of a larger Arctic observing network. And so I was aboard a Russian ship for 33 days. It was a Russian ship because most of the work was taking place in the Russian economic exclusion zone. So you have to be on a Russian ship, captained by a Russian with a Russian chief scientist. So it was a joint expedition between a US Arctic Research Center and a Russian Arctic Research Center. If I had the option to go on more journeys, I would take them in a heartbeat. My favorite part of science is being in the field, because that's what drew me to science in the first place, is being outside and looking at these things and asking questions that I can see. I might have a chance to go back to the Arctic if this work continues to be funded, and that would be phenomenal because the polar regions I find incredibly beautiful and incredibly fascinating. So I hope to stay within field oceanography. One of my favorite moments from the Arctic journey was the first time that I saw a polar bear. We had been in the ice for about 4 days, and everybody was on edge and trying, everyone wanted to see a polar bear, whether they had been to the Arctic 5 times or it was their first time. We would all stand out on the side, look over the ice. No one had seen any. We'd seen plenty of tracks, but no actual bears. And I just returned to my work when one of the Russian scientists, who had limited English, came over and grabbed me by the arm and couldn't speak, and he dragged me over to the rail and just shoved his binoculars into my hand and started pointing and just making noises that I didn't understand. And I looked, and there were 2 polar bears, a mother and I think they said it was about a 2-year-old cub, walking across the ice towards us. And you're prepared for something like that, but actually seeing something as majestic as a polar bear for the first time in the wild is just mind-blowing. It was incredible. If I had any advice for aspiring scientists, I would recommend to always think about what you see in the environment around you and question it, and don't be afraid to get things wrong. Science is all about thinking about things and almost being creative. It's far more creative than people think. It's not about getting the right answer every time. It's about asking the right questions, and the way that you ask the right questions is by taking these risks about lines of thought that might not end up being right. And it's a hard thing to learn, but once you kind of get over the fact that you don't have to be right all the time, it's really rewarding, and it allows you to do a lot more. So how did I end up involved? So like I said, I just started my master's work in oceanography. But up until now, all of the research that I've done and the systems that I'm familiar with are subtropical ocean systems. All my research up until now has happened in Bermuda. Complete opposite from the Arctic. But most people you would come across, if you could spend a week in Bermuda versus a week in Siberia, would choose Bermuda. I'm not one of those people. I love the cold. I've been fascinated with the polar region since I was little, cross-country skiing in the town forest. I would pretend that I was Shackleton and other polar explorers. So if there's anyone to send to the Arctic for over a month, it would be me. This is an example of one of the sensors that would be attached to a mooring. It looks very unimpressive, right? It's just this kind of black, small thing, and we're calibrating it at the moment. But this is a nitrate sensor, and it's powered by a lithium battery, and it will give real-time data of dissolved nitrate, for 2 years. It's really, really incredible. And this type of technology was new for me. I never worked with it before, so that was mind-opening. One of the other coolest things was that any of the ice work, all the equipment would be deployed over the side on these huge cranes. So this was everything from, the buoy itself to the equipment, and also the people would stand on a pallet and be lowered onto the ice. And only 7 could be on the ice at a time, because that's how many could fit on the pallet. And should a polar bear come, they didn't want to leave anyone on the ice. So it was only 7 people.